Revelation 700. From the 7th of December 1938. God's love. Power. Will to create. Behold how the sea of divine love pours out over all creatures. How the source of grace constantly opens and the fullness of God's love communicates itself to his beings. Visible and invisible powers are always ready to carry out what God's love wants, and so the love of the Lord works unlimitedly. Always and forever. His will is power, his love is strength, and his wisdom creates from will and love. Everything is therefore the love work of God carried out in all wisdom. It came into being out of itself, in that the love of God became active, and such a love work must therefore also be the highest. It must announce the will and the love of God visibly and tangibly or perceptibly to the created, and can therefore also never sink back into nothingness, because everything created is power. The power, however, does not decrease, but steadily increases into infinity. A created being, as a product of this creative power, the origin of which is divine love, must therefore likewise harbour love and power within itself, even if in the most infinite part. Every being holds a spark of this divine love and power in itself. Now the being, especially those in possession of free will, has the task to bring this spark likewise to ever greater formation, thus to increase its own power of love in union with the love of God, and thus to unite itself again with the original power, the epitome of love, so that everything that went out from God, returns to him again. To whom this does not seem comprehensible, imagine a power plant, which produces and delivers power at the same time. The more power is required, the more is produced, but the plant receives all power supply undiminished in the form which was gained by the used power, therefore only a transformation of the original power has been achieved, but not the smallest part of the power has been lost. And therefore also the smallest thing in the universe can never be lost or destroyed, because it always bears witness in the whole universe only in another form, according to the will of the Lord, of the never-ending forming will of the eternal Godhead. This is well understandable to you, but not how the power as such increases in the beings created by God. The source of light will forever not dry up, because divine power can never exhaust itself, although every being owes its existence only to this source of power. The light and the power increase uninterruptedly through emanations into the universe. These are neither limited nor dependent on any influence, but uninterrupted expressions of the working and the love of God, which would only then decrease if the creative will of God would decrease. But this cannot happen, because it would mean a lack of love, and since God is nevertheless love itself, so it must also be ceaselessly creatively active and again produce new living beings, to whom the never-ending love of the Father is directed. The more the creative urge is now active, the more numerous are the wonders of creation. And since every work of creation is power out of God, this power increases infinitely daily and hourly, because the most manifold works of creation emerge from the will of God continuously and everywhere in the universe, and not for a second will creation as such decrease in form and size or diminish, but instead become more and more extensive and diverse through the eternally invincible creative will of God, which rises out of the infinite love of God. And therefore the Lord has also placed love and the will to form in every created being, which then should bring the being, if free will is given to it, to highest perfection, so that the power of God, which is eternal love, is only always increased and as such triggers the highest happiness in heaven and on earth, because the epitome of all divinity and therefore of the highest bliss, is love. Amen.